Even the air seemed to know a great change was coming. Over the silent plains outside the ancient city of Rathgar, a chill wind blew across the dry earth. In the squalid alleys and towering skyscrapers alike, a single name passed fearfully from lips both human and the monstrous: the Crucified One. Some spoke of him in whispers, half hoping the hushed tone would spare them from his notice. Others laughed about the legend, trying to hide their own dread. But none, neither demon, devil, nor mortal, could deny the rumors swirling with the force of a gathering storm. Rathgar had long been the meeting point between worlds. High above the glass spires, dimensional tiers crackled with flickers of scarlet lightning, gateways from which demons and devils sometimes emerged. The city's government, a loose coalition of desperate humans trying to keep their realm from collapse, struggled to maintain order. They had formed uneasy truces with certain demonic lords who found it profitable to exploit humans rather than annihilate them outright. Yet the devils, who were cunning beyond compare, lurked in every shadow with their forked tongues and hidden knives. Among all these forces, a hushed terror was growing. The Crucified One, a being older than time, was said to possess qualities of demon, devil, and man, yet belonged to none. The leaders of Rathgar each had their own goals and desires that they wanted for their city. Chancellor Marcellus Grey is the leader of Rathgar's mortal government. Once a soldier, his left arm was scarred from fending off a monstrous demon in his youth. Those scars reminded him daily of the precarious alliance he had struck with the underworld. Proud, determined, and haunted by regrets, Marcellus would do anything to keep his city safe, even if it meant forming pacts with devils. Isabeau Windrow, a young scholar in Rathgar's great library, who spent most of her life studying forbidden tomes. She had a gentle heart, but a fierce loyalty to knowledge. She was the first to discover ancient texts hinting at the Crucified One's return. Though terrified, a secret part of her felt thrilled that she might witness the greatest myth in history come to life. Prince Adramelch is a devil noble and is a cunning, silver-tongued devil, hungry for influence and power. Adramelch presided over a faction of devils who preferred subtlety over open conflict. He exuded a certain oily charm that made even the bravest mortal uneasy. Always with a polite smile, he worked behind the scenes, forging agreements with gullible humans, then double-crossing them when it was most profitable. Macroth, the Reaper, is a powerful demon warlord. He is a towering figure with leathery, bat-like wings and horns, sharpened to a wicked point. Macroth commanded demon hordes on Rathgar's outskirts, and those under his command always thirsted for bloodshed. While devils indulged in manipulation, demons were more direct. Macroth believed that the Crucified One's return spelled doom for all lesser creatures, unless he found a way to harness the entity's power for himself. And finally, there is Captain Neil Harridan, a veteran soldier who was known to never back down from a fight. Captain Harridan was charged with defending Rathgar's walls, and in his many years of service, he saw too many men die in bloody, horrifying ways. He often used grim humor to cope, mocking and joking with his fellow soldiers to lighten the tension. However, beneath his jibes and jokes lay a man who would kill for those he loved or die trying, and those who followed him knew it and gave him their undying loyalty. As rumors multiplied, tension swept every corner of the city. The homeless in the lower districts raved about visions of a crucified figure walking among the stars. High society clubs hosted infernal visitors who joked, somewhat nervously, about the old legend being nothing more than a children's tale. In truth, everyone felt it in the air. The arrival was no fairy tale. Something real was coming. Chancellor Marcellus summoned a secret council in the grand hall of Rathgar's palace. Torches cast dancing shadows across the stone walls. Around a large, round table sat Isabeau, Captain Harridan, Adramelch, and a handful of anxious ministers. Marcellus's voice trembled slightly, though he tried to keep it steady. Marcellus looked around the grand hall and began to address the gathering. "We stand at a crossroads. I've received word from our allies on the frontier that entire villages are collapsing into chaos. They speak of black fires in the night, of people vanishing, and every frantic messenger has uttered the same name, the Crucified One. Adramelch, with a coy smile, looks at Marcellus and says, "Chancellor, do you truly believe a being so old it predates even devils and demons is coming for Rathgar? If the Crucified One is real, might he not prefer a grander stage, like the seat of the universe itself?" Isabeau, adjusting her glasses, trembling, chimes in, "I've studied the scrolls found beneath the great library. They say he appears wherever the balance of fear and longing is greatest. Rathgar is plagued by both, and that is an irresistible beacon to him." Captain Harridan, nodding in grim agreement, looks around the chamber and says, "The lower quarters are on the brink of riot. Our soldiers are exhausted, and if this unstoppable being lands in the heart of the city, we're finished, unless we find some way to prepare for this arrival." Adramelch slowly stands to his feet and, addressing no one person in particular, says, "Well, if you want an actual chance at survival, we devils might offer a solution at the right price, of course." Marcellus, who was by now quietly furious, glares at Adramelch and in his most threatening voice says, "You'd offer us help. That's rich. We know you're dealing with Macroth behind our backs. Don't play us for fools. The only one you want to help is yourself." Adramelch starts laughing softly because he knew that he had hit on a sore spot with Marcellus, and he looks at him with a devilish twinkle in his eye and says, "Oh, come now, Chancellor Marcellus. I'd never dream of playing you for a fool. I only toy with the desperate, but then again, you, dear sir, do reek of desperation." Marcellus, who at this time can barely maintain his anger, makes his hands into two tight fists, and his knuckles begin to whiten with the pressure he applies. He slowly stands to his feet and glances over at Isabeau, who gives him a small, weak smile and an encouraging nod. Without further words, the meeting dissolves into an uneasy alliance. Devils, humans, and anyone else who truly fears the Crucified One more than they hated each other. But outside of the palace walls, Macroth, the Reaper, had different plans. Deep in the outskirts, where twisted trees dripped with foul sap and the night sky stretched like a black sea, Macroth gathered his generals. They formed a circle around an ancient stone dais. Bones lay scattered across it, remnants of sacrificial rituals from centuries past. Macroth, in a booming voice, speaks to his generals. "We cannot cower like these mortal insects. The Crucified One is an ancient scourge, yes, but what if we turn his arrival into our triumph? If I claim his power, no devil or human will stand against us." Demon General Morat looks at Macroth and says in a level but urgent voice, "You speak of claiming a living legend. That's madness." Macroth snarls and bares his fangs at what Mara says and replies threateningly, "Better madness than cowardice. We strike the city first, sow panic, and then lure the Crucified One to me. The old texts say he is drawn to conflict like a vulture to carrion. Let's give him the greatest battle he's ever seen." The demons roared in approval, fueling Macroth's ambition. He needed bloodshed, chaos, and dread to summon the Crucified One into a physical manifestation. From his vantage, it was the only chance for the demon host to rise above devils and humankind once and for all. Within days, Macroth's demon horde storms Rathgar's walls under the cover of darkness. Firebombs streaked across the night sky, exploding into molten clusters on impact. Captain Harridan and his soldiers rushed to the battlements, swords shaking in their hands and their hearts pounding with the drumbeat of battle. Illuminated by the exploding molten clusters, Captain Harridan stands on the battlement in the midst of the fray, roars out his orders to his men. "Archers, loose your arrows and let them strike true. Keep your wits, men, and do not show your enemy fear." Screams of defiance and pain rise as the demons scale the walls, using barbed hooks and their monstrous strength to tear down the defenders. Sparks from unholy fires illuminated the gore of battle. Human and demon limbs were scattered across the stone pathways, and the blood of both human and demon was splattered on the banners and walls of Rathgar, like the painting of an unholy tapestry, and the acrid stench of burning flesh choked the air. Marcellus was desperately trying to coordinate the city's defense from within the palace, and was issuing frantic orders to each outpost. Meanwhile, Adramelch's devils, wearing sly grins, joined the battle in calculated, violent bursts. And these devils didn't fight out of loyalty. They fought to ensure that the city didn't fall into demon hands before they could bargain for more power for themselves. Occasionally, Adramelch would let loose a blast of infernal magic, and these devilish blasts would set entire squads of demons ablaze, who would die screaming in a greenish hellfire that reeked of brimstone. Down in the shattered streets of Rathgar, Isabeau clutched an ancient tome, her eyes glowing with frantic determination. She tried to recite the protective incantations gleaned from the forbidden books, but she found herself distracted because all around her, the ground was slick with the blood and gore of battle, with bodies that lay twisted and torn, and she had to fight back the urge to retch and break down crying when she saw a child's broken, lifeless form. Isabeau, whispering to herself through tears, quietly says, "I can't stop this. Not alone, but maybe if I can find the final lines of the ritual, maybe then I can delay him." Lightning crackled overhead, and a gale-like wind began whipping through the city. To those who could sense it, an ominous presence was drawing near. At the height of the chaos, a savage hush grips the battlefield. Soldiers, demons, and devils pause mid-strike, and all fighting ceases in an instant. Then there is a sound like distant thunder that resonates through the city. It was then that the echo of an otherworldly heartbeat comes and is pounding in every chest. Macroth, standing atop the highest tower, spreads his bloodied wings triumphantly as lightning silhouettes him in a jagged outline. With a triumphant cry, he bellows, "He's here. The crucified one has come." But as the thunder echoes, something unexpected happens. Adramelch turns, and there is a strange light gleaming in his eyes. He had orchestrated more than a mere alliance. In that moment, he flung open the gates of Rathgar from the inside, allowing an entire legion of devils, previously hidden in catacombs below, to surge forth. Their weapons hummed with unholy energy. Adramelch smirks coldly at Marcellus and says, "Did you really think I would share your fate? We devils always planned for this day. Let Macroth roar. Let him drain his army. Once the crucified one arrives, we alone will greet him as equals, or as servants if we must. Better to serve the unstoppable than die defying him." Marcellus stumbles backward, horror etched on his face. He then realizes that Adramelch's true goal was to betray both men and demons at the perfect moment, seizing power amid the chaos. The devils set upon the city guards, and in a matter of minutes, Rathgar descended into complete anarchy. Demons and devils slaughtering each other in the streets, humans caught between them, screaming and dying. Above the carnage, the sky began to tear open. A rift of swirling darkness extended from horizon to horizon. Even the fiercest combatants cowered. Fires sputtered in an unseen wind. That dreadful heartbeat thundered again, vibrating the very foundations of reality. Captain Harrowing managed to limp near Isabeau in the wreckage of the library courtyard. Blood ran from a deep cut across his brow. Weakly, he helped her stand. They stared upwards, both awed and terrified. Isabeau, looking skyward, says in a trembling voice, He's not alone." From the swirling void emerged not just a single figure, but two shapes. One was tall, emaciated, with arms splayed, as if pinned to an invisible cross, the crucified one. His eyes glowed with an eerie compassion and menace all at once, evoking both unimaginable terror and a strange, comforting warmth. Beside him hovered a smaller shape, a cloaked entity, hooded and silent. A hush blanketed the battlefield. Adramelch froze, uncertain. Macroth stared, wings drooping, uncertain if he should kneel or attack. The swirling darkness pulsed with energy. The crucified one let out a sound, a sigh, or perhaps an unearthly moan that reverberated through everyone's mind like a chorus of screams and lullabies mixed together. Soldiers wept uncontrollably, demons whimpered in confusion, devils cowered, and then, with agonizing slowness, the crucified one's head turned, scanning the blood-soaked city. The hooded shape next to him raised a pale hand, pointing toward the broken gates below. No one knew if it was a partner, a herald, or something else, something more sinister. But they all knew one undeniable truth: nothing would ever be the same. Captain Harrowing, breathing raggedly, possibly from the exertions of the battle, or maybe from fear, simply says, "Oh, God, he's arrived." In that final instant, the crucified one stepped forward and vanished from the sky, appearing instantly in the center of Rathgar. He cast no shadow and spoke no words. Instead, the city's entire populace felt the searing presence of an immortal power come to judge them, or maybe to save them. Terrified, hopeful, or both, they watched as his companion also drifted to the ground with silent purpose. No one had expected two arrivals. That horrifying and profound realization sank into every soul. The alliance of devils and demons, the desperation of humans, the meticulously laid plans, none of it mattered anymore. A new age had begun, heralded by two ancient, incomprehensible beings from a time before time. And just as quickly as the roar began, the silence returned. Against the backdrop of scorched buildings, torn bodies, and the moans of the dying, a single thought echoed through every mind. He has come. They have come.